And away we go. Shabbat Shalom. Good evening, everyone. Great to have you with us here at Ahavat Shalom. And a special welcome, Bruchim Habaim, for those of you watching from the comfort of your home on computer or on TV. I'm Rabbi Matt Berger, and this evening, very pleased to have our soloist, Michelle Konigsberg, with us, and down at the piano, our accompanist with another beautiful hat, Joy Katzen-Guthrie. This evening, in anticipation of the upcoming Purim holiday and our congregational Purim celebration this Sunday, we're going to sing a few holiday tunes in addition to Shabbat favorites throughout the evening service. The first being Chag Sameach, or as one person in a band once said, Chog Sandwich. But it's not Chog Sandwich, it's Chag Sameach, which means happy holiday. Chag Sameach, ya la la la, ya la la. Chag Sameach, ya la la la, ya la la. Chag Sameach, ya la la la, ya la la. Chag Sameach, ya la la la, ya la la. Shiru, 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 Chag Sameach, ya la la la, ya la la. Shiru, 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 Chag Sameach, ya la la la, ya la la. Shiru, 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 Chag Sameach, ya la la la, ya la la. Shiru, 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 Chag Sameach, ya la la la, ya la la. Chag Sameach, ya la la la, ya la la. Chag Sameach, ya la la la, ya la la. We sing Chag Sameach, happy holidays. Getting into the mood for lighting our Shabbos candles, which you'll find on page 2. Michelle will lead us in Debbie Friedman's Light These Lights.
Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen.
Praise you, God, for the commandment, the sacred obligation to kindle the lights of Shabbat, our day of rest. So as many of you know, yesterday was one of my favorite kids' authors' birthdays, Dr. Seuss, who is from my hometown, or at least where I was born, Springfield, Mass., later in lovely La Jolla, California. You like it? It still fits from years ago. So many of you know that. A lot of times that's like a high school graduation present. I know I got that for my high school graduation. But we're going to use Naomi Wolf, who is a modern author, her riff on this having to do with Shushan and Oh, the Places You'll Go. Congratulations, Shushan. Today is your day. You're off to high places. You're off and away. You're ready to start with your goblet in hand. You're glad that you came. The king's party is grand. In Shushan, things happen and frequently do to people as classy and snazzy as you. Oh, the places you'll go, you're on the way up. You're the best of the best, and after this party, you'll top all the rest. Except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say, but sadly it's true, you ought to have listened to Mordecai the Jew. He wanted you not to go, he warned you not to eat, but you snuck out of shul and beat a hasty retreat. But back you'll go now to cry and to pray. Back you will go now for many a day. Back you will go now, and the dewy confession you'll say, though the sackcloth does itch and your legs feel like clay. You'll cry to your God, you'll beg and you'll weep, you'll daven or pray all day and into your sleep. And will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. It's 100% guaranteed. Just remember, God will always move mountains for you. So be your name Goldberg or Cohen, Friedman or Schwartz. Remember to listen to the Chachamim, the wise ones, of course. Then you'll surely be safe and blessed from the source. If you're ever in Springfield, there is a lovely Dr. Seuss museum on the Quadrangle, which I've always loved to go to. It wasn't in existence with all the statues when I was a little kid, but some point after college when I went back, they have a lovely set of Dr. Seuss sculptures, the Lorax, and the like. Hope you enjoyed that, a little bit of Purim-themed Dr. Seuss-like poetry. We're going to continue now with Shalom Aleichem, but not your usual Shalom Aleichem. Peace be to you, that you'll find on page 24, but rather we are going to pull from Bob Dylan's Tangled Up in Blue. Tangled Up in Blue. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom malachei HaShalom malachei Elyon. Mimelech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sheithem l'shalom malachei Shalom malachei Elyon. Mimelech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Save him Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malkei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hope you like that one. We'll go more traditional now, turning to page 26, our segue to Shema and its blessings, the half or Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah V'yomad yivrachute v'yamlich malchute B'chayechon v'yomechon Uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael Bagala bagala Uv'izman kariv V'yemiru Amen Yehi Shmei Rabbah mivarach Le'olam u'amei almaya Yitbarach Yitbarach v'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal Shemei dekudesh abrichu Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbichata v'nechemata Damiran bi'alma v'yemiru Amen.
Let's rise now for the call to prayer, the words of the Baruch Hu on page 28. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vayed. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vayed. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Please join me on page 31, a prayer for creation. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. Feel free to join me also on 33, the bottom of the page, words of love, ahava. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. The more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language which gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Israel. We'll sing Jeff Klepper's Open Up Our Eyes.
Open up our eyes, teach us how to live. as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes.
Open up our eyes.
Teach us how to live.
Teach us how to live.
Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. And we will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Feel free to be seated. We'll continue now the words of the Shema in 36, chanting, "You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your strength. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha b'derech uv'shochbecha uv'pumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Words of emet ve'emunah, truth and faith, are found on 39. Feel free to join me. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we are taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land. The winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. There is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. On page 40, who is like you, God? Mi chamocha. Kamocha ba'elim Adonai, ki kamocha neda b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, nora tehilot osef eleh. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים. זה לי ענו ואמרו, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, נורא תהי לו עושה פלא, נורא תהי לו עושה פלא. Praise to you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. On page 42, you'll find the words of Hashkivenu, a prayer of shelter and protection. This arrangement by the duo Matovu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom, Lishalom, Vehamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim, Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shlomecha, Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right.
Let's rise now for our standing prayers, the words of the Tefillah that you'll find on page 46 and following, thanking God for our ancestors' strength, health, and lives.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh HaKol, V'Zocher Chasei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'nehem, Leman Shemo V'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magin. Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham, v'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor leolam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol, Atah Rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach, Murid hakashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rab. Somech noflim verofech holim, Umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Micha mocha ba'al givurot, umido melach, melech memit, umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'nemanata lehachayot hakol. Baruch ata Adonai, mechaye hakol.
Ta kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom yalu chasela. Baruch ata Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. We bless you, God, for holiness in the world. Feel free to be seated. We'll continue with the Emsaot, the in-between blessings of our Shabbat Tefillah of the 7. First, for the holiness of this day, Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat, a prayer that you'll find on the bottom of 56, asking that God's presence always remain with us wherever we are, Israel or here. Baruch atah Adonai HaMachazir Shechinato Litzion, and for words of gratitude. Many of you were either here or watching on Monday night when we had an awesome a cappella band, 613, who randomly called my kids up to say hello and offer some beatboxing skills. That was pretty cool. I learned that my son Avi's going to be a weatherman, which is nice too. So things to be grateful for. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha ulcha na'el lechodot. Just as an aside, for about 2 weeks I wanted to be a weatherman in college, but then I realized how much math and science that you actually would need, and then that quickly turned that spigot right off. So one of my favorite prayers of the year happens twice a year on Hanukkah and also on Purim, both really fun holidays, but minor holidays in the Jewish calendar. And it's customary to share a blessing called Al HaNisim, for the miracles and wonders that God performed for us during the Maccabee time, for Hanukkah, and during the time of Mordechai and Esther in Shushan, in what's now modern-day Persia. And you'll find the words right there on the screen. Al HaNisim ve'al HaPurkan ve'al HaGvurot ve'al HaTshuvot ve'al HaMilchamo she'asita la'avoteinu bayamim ha'em b'zman hazeh. Al HaNisim ve'al HaPurkan ve'al HaGvurot ve'al HaTshuvot ve'al HaMilchamo she'asita la'avoteinu bayamim ha'em b'zman hazeh. Al HaNisim ve'al HaPurkan ve'al HaGvurot ve'al HaTshuvot ve'al HaMilchamo she'asita la'avoteinu bayamim ha'em b'zman hazeh. Al HaNisim ve'al HaPurkan ve'al HaGvurot ve'al HaTshuvot ve'al HaMilchamo she'asita la'avoteinu bayamim ha'em b'zman hazeh. On page 60, the final blessing of the tefillah is always for peace. Grant abundant peace to Israel, your people forever. For you are the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel, Ukraine, and God willing, the world with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael. Shalom. And for our time of reflection, we'll sing Yehiyu l'Ratzon. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, our God, Rock, and Redeemer. You'll also find the words on page 62. Yehu leratzon, imre fi, Egyon libi lefanecha. Yehu leratzon, imre fi, Egyon libi lefanecha. Adonai Tsuri, Adonai Tsuri, Adonai Tsuri vegoali. Adonai Tsuri, Adonai Tsuri, Adonai Tsuri vegoali. Yehu leratzon, imre fi, Egyon libi lefanecha. Yehu leratzon, imre fi, Egyon libi lefanecha. If you turn to page 253 in your prayer books, or look right on the screen, you'll find our prayer of healing, Mi Sheberak, God the one who blesses those who are in need. So we think of the following individuals in our community and beyond. At this time, Jacqueline Albin, Elaine Afandulis, Lori Bauk, Yonatan Ruven Ben Rivka, Charlie Burke, Babs Brown, Richard Carlson, Manuel Cruz, Daniel DeVicente, Matthew Deinhardt, Harry Fleisch, Denise Freifeld, Mitchell Freifeld, Sidel Freifeld, Susan Herron, Howard Markowitz, Cole Montgomery, Melissa Miller, William Miller, Michael Ranzino, Rabbi Avram Reifer, Abri Richmond, Gary Rosenberg, Stephanie Ross, Kay Schleich, Dennis Schulman, Arlene Charlotte, Jeff Stark, Doris Stoyer, Claire Stieglitz, and Marty Wassoff. Are there any other names you'd like to add for healing at this time?
Sheberach Avotenu Mikor habracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi Sheberach Imotenu Mikor habracha Le'avotenu.
In the next 4 days, Jews across the world will celebrate Purim, each in their own unique way. The story of Purim, which took place roughly 2,400 years ago in Persia or modern-day Iran, is a holiday of chance because the evil Haman, listen to how loud this grogger is, definitely in the 99th percentile for loud groggers. The evil Haman drew lots to determine the day the Jews would be attacked, all because Mordecai wouldn't bow down before him. During this time, Persia was the seat of Eastern mysticism, which, as an aside, has led some scholars to believe that Mordecai, one of the two protagonists in the book of Esther, was actually responsible for bringing mystical beliefs into Jewish practice. One of the more important parts of the Purim story is when Mordecai, also a member of the royal court, learned about a plot to poison King Ahasuerus of Shushan. Yet, while Mordecai uncovered the would-be assassins and stopped them, his good deed was only recorded, but it was never rewarded. Afterwards, perhaps spooked by the plot, Mordecai became afraid for the safety of his niece, who would soon become Queen Esther. So he began to pray for her. As the story goes, Mordecai fasted from sunup to sundown 5 days a week, subsisting only on raw grains and vegetables, which would make anyone quite frail. But if this weren't enough, he also was known to walk barefoot wherever he went, even though the terrain in Shushan was rather rocky, given its location in the foothills of the Zagros Mountains. This led to some megacalluses on his feet. Finally, it's said that due to his odd diet, he came down with a pretty bad case of bad breath. Taking together, this makes Mordecai a super calloused, fragile mystic hexed by halitosis. Just some Purim wordplay for you from someone who likes crosswords and games like Wordle. On Purim, it's customary to send gifts of fruits, nuts, and of course, as you'll see on the screen, Hamantaschen, those delicious three-corner cookies. We've got about 200 plus in the fridge right now. This is one of the 4 mitzvot, or sacred obligations, of the holiday. This one being mishloach manot, to send gifts. The others are, of course, hearing the Esther or Megillah scroll being read, giving to the poor, and perhaps, in my opinion, the sketchiest mitzvah of all, drinking until you don't know the difference between Mordecai and Haman, the good from the bad. To me, this seems like a recipe for peer pressure, which is never a good thing when it comes to alcohol. So what can we make of these tasty triangle cookies? For one, they're said to symbolize the pyramid shape of the dice rolled by Haman to determine the day of the Jews' reckoning. You won't find these type of dice in a Monopoly set, but players of Dungeons & Dragons the world over are familiar with these triangle dice. Haman, or Hamantaschen, are also said to remember the three-cornered hat worn by its namesake, who happens to be, according to tradition, a direct descendant of Amalek, the arch-enemy of the Israelites, and therefore, by extension, the Jewish people. Linguistically, the word Hamantaschen is a combination of the aforementioned Haman and the Yiddish word for pocket, which is tash. After all, no triangle cookie is complete without adding some sort of delicious topping in the dough before you pop them in the oven. Everyone has their favorite: raspberry, poppy seed, which is also known as mun, not my favorite, chocolate, many people use Nutella, even dulce de leche, which tastes a lot like caramel. My favorite, which is represented there, happens to be apricot. In Hebrew, these delectable treats are called Oznei Haman, which means Haman's ears, not because his ears had 3 sharp corners, but due to the myth that Haman's ears were actually sliced off before he and his sons were hung in the gallows. Ouch. To be sure, there's no obligation to eat hamantashen on Purim. Nevertheless, many people have gone to great lengths just to taste them. For instance, a memoir in the 19th century from a woman named Hannah once shared the following story in her life. After being forced out of Ukraine, as her family was Jewish, she and her husband often found it hard to get supplies to prepare for Shabbat. One week, there wouldn't be any wax to make candles. Another week, there was no flour to be had, therefore no challah. So when she was finally able to get some flour, she used the majority of it to make the challah loaf, but saved just enough to bake 2 or 3 hamantashen, as Purim was right around the corner. In her own words, she said, though it's a minor custom, making these hamantashen played a very important role in our lives, reminding us that we are still human and we are still Jews. I can only imagine what Jews who are still living in Ukraine today are thinking right about now on the cusp of the holiday, which is usually filled with joy and with gladness. And while God, interestingly enough, isn't mentioned anywhere in the book of Esther, we could certainly use the Holy One's strong hand and outstretched arm right about now. Or, for the very least, from a theological perspective, I'd like to think God is crying alongside us as the world watches Ukraine suffer needlessly. There's one final mitzvah, or sacred obligation, that's worthy of note as we approach the holiday. In Hebrew, the phrase is Mi shenichnas Adar marbim b'simcha, which means from the beginning of the Hebrew month of Adar, we increase in joy. It's based on a passage found in the book of Esther, which says that the 14th and 15th days of Adar, this very month, as you'll see as the moon gets larger and larger towards mid-month, were turned from sorrow into gladness. And these are the days that Haman's dice landed on to determine the fate of the Jews of Shushan and its 127 provinces. In a way, the story of Purim is a gigantic joke on anti-Semitism because in the end, Haman's hatred of the Jews eventually came back to haunt him, and then some. More recently, however, it's also seen as a parody on anti-Semitism because in the beginning of the story, before Esther was queen, the king named Ahasuerus showed contempt for Queen Vashti because she refused to obey his command to walk around and dance and parade before the court in a seductive manner. For this, he banished her from the palace and from his life. Yet now, many people see Vashti as a heroine right alongside Esther, because thousands of years before the Me Too movement, Vashti stood up for herself and flatly refused to be controlled or seen only as an object of desire. At the end of the day, Vashti was a human being like all of us, a woman deserving of respect and admiration for her choice. Ultimately, the Jews of Shushan emerged victorious. They overcame the hatred of the anti-Semite Haman and earned the right to defend themselves. And while the way we celebrate Purim is filled with joy, costumes, hopefully good food, and music, Purim reminds us that while chance does play a role in the world, it doesn't necessarily rule our world. In life, all of us have to expect the unexpected and learn to cope with the unpredictable. We need to respond to what lies before us, whether it's good tidings or big challenges. At times, we might even need to reframe our thoughts and shape our responses to restore harmony and order in our lives. Purim is a reminder that evil still exists in the world. All of us know there are modern-day Hamans, arch enemies of goodness, people with little to no tolerance for differences in thought, in faith, in orientation, or in terms of how we simply relate to one another. Perhaps this is why the rabbis say that even in the Messianic time, all the other festivals will come to an end except Purim will last forever of all holidays. Because even then, when people might think that evil has disappeared, we still need to remember. But that is then, and we live in the now. We need the holiday of Purim to laugh, to enjoy ourselves, and to celebrate the heroism of people like Esther, Mordecai, and Vashti, each of whom spoke truth to power. May their courage inspire us to stand tall, and may we continue to have hope, a sense of tikvah, that our communities and the world will eventually be filled with the sounds of gladness and with joy. Shabbat Shalom. We are going to continue with the words of Aleinu, the adoration, found on page 282. Please rise as the ark's opened.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula leotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishbechot hadama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, ve'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
You'll find the words of Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, on page 294. As we call to mind and to heart families in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days, mourning their loved one. As we fondly recall Paul Weiner, father of Lauren Goldman, Raisa Wexler, dear friend of Paula Rosoff, Corrine Fairfield, mother of Judith Fairfield, Jack Factorowitz, father of Jay Factorowitz, Marie G. Paquette, mother of Suzanne Pincus, Clara Graff, mother of Jason Graff, and we note the recent death of Marnie Schoenfeld, daughter-in-law of Babette and Robert Schoenfeld. To these names we also add and mark the yahrzeit, anniversary of passing of loved ones. On this Shabbat we remember Raina Abrahams, Diane Ashkenaz, Frank Blitzer, Robert Brower Sr., Louis Channon, Robert Cohen, Abraham Diamond, Moishe Morris Eisenstadt,
Erwin Fairfield, Peggy Singer-Frankel, Hattie Friedman, David Freudenthal, Beatrice Rutenberg-Goldsmith, Ruth Hagberg, Saul Kaplan, Lenora C. Kirk, Michael Wolf Larish, Nina Leliev, Maria Rosa, Max Schlerer, Herman Silver, Sylvia Slaff, Roberta Stein, Josephine Vitello, Sydney Weiss, Marvin Weiss, and Lester Zimmerman. Are there any other names to add for Yahrzeit? Please. We say, Zichronam Livracha, may the memories of all of these good people continue to be a source of blessing to their families' lives as we rise together offering the words of Kaddish praise. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayedecho beit Yisrael, v'agalav v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitolal shemei dekudesha b'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran v'yalma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'mramav, hu yasei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the one who causes peace in the heavens cause peace to descend on us, Israel, Ukraine, and the world, as we say amen.
V'imru, 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 amen. V'imru, 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 amen.
Feel free to be seated. We'll continue with the Shabbat Kiddush, blessing over the fruit of the vine. You'll find the words to the Kiddush on the screen as well as on page 5, if I can open this hermetically sealed cup, which I did. Success. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'yava u'ratzon inhilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishi Ihu yom tehillah l'mikra'e kodesh zeher letziat mitzrayim Kivanu b'harta v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha v'yava u'ratzon inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. Chaim to life. Lo and behold, an entire loaf. You never know what you're going to get. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together.
as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Stay alone, enjoy. Up for grabs at the end of service. Pleasure to call forward Steve Koenigsberg, chair of our Events and Development Committee. Thank you so much for all of your work helping with 613. He's got a slew of announcements.
Lots of announcements today. Many thanks to Rabbi Matt, Michelle, and Joy for leading a wonderful service, along with our live stream team, Bruce Lowett and Saul Tave. Many thanks to you for participating in our annual fundraiser. With your help, we reached our goal for the evening and enjoyed a wonderful concert with the acclaimed vocal group 613. Many thanks to the Events and Development Committee and to all of you for support. Sisterhood, support the Girls Project for Women in Pinellas County's homeless shelters is underway. Please bring in new and good condition bras and sealed packages of feminine hygiene products to the box in the foyer. Join us this Sunday, March 5th at 10 a.m. for our Congregational Purim celebration, sponsored by the Brotherhood, Sisterhood, and religious schools. Highlights will include reading of the Megillah or Esther's Scroll, a costume parade, sing-alongs, games, raffles, and lots of hamantashen. On March 9th at 7 p.m., Sisterhood is presenting a panel discussion, Don't Hate Us, Taking Action to Combat Extremism in All Forms, with guest speakers Simon Gladstone from TAS, Bob Fryer from the Jewish Press, Matthew E. Berger, no relation to the rabbi, from Rabbi Kraft Foundation to Combat Anti-Semitism, and Michael Egel, chairman of the Holocaust Museum. Join us for services on March 10th, featuring our Shabbat live band, and celebrate Rabbi Matt's birthday afterwards. Yes. Teens 12 through 17 are invited to join us on March 19th at Avad Shalom's Teen Master Chef, led by our youth director, Avi Nardia, and the Israeli-American Council. On March 23rd, we will be showing a silent movie made in the 1920s. It's titled City Without Jews, and we'll have live musicians and a new originally composed music. Following services, please join us for an Oneg Shabbat in the social hall. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much, Steve. Yeah, so my birthday is on March 8th, and in case you didn't know it, our Rabbi Emeritus Gary Klein, his birthday is also March 8th. It's a 1 in 365 chance, if you want to do the math very quickly. In your head, the birthday bash on Friday. So we're not going to be doing like a particular pop composer. We're going to do a melange of the pop composers that we've done, which is up to 5, along with some Shabbat favorites. I promised 3 Purim songs, and this is the third coming right up. Thank you. This is Chag Purim, Chag Gadol Yehudim, a big holiday for the Jews. We'll sing the Hebrew, and we'll sing the English right after that. Chag Purim,
Hag Purim, Hag Gadol HaYehudim, Masechot Rashanim, Zvirot Rikudim. Havana Risha, Rush, Rush, Rush. Havana Risha, Rush, Rush, Rush. Havana Risha, Rush, Rush, Rush. Baharashanim. Purim Day, it's a happy holiday. We make noise with our toys, sing and dance and play. Let's hear the groggers rush, rush, rush. Let's hear the groggers rush, rush, rush. Let's hear the groggers rush, rush, rush when they say amen. Our closing prayer for health right on the screen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al shmirat hanefesh, for the mitzvah and sacred obligation to protect our health and the lives of those around us. Early wishes for a Chag Sameach, a happy Purim, and Shabbat Shalom for those back home. I'll see you next Friday for our Shabbat Live. Join us for the Oneg, please.